Hi everyone, this is Paris. Just got the beehives here. I'll give a few minutes for people to log on. I did say 12 o'clock. If you got questions, please do actually put them across and I'll answer them as they come along. So we shall wait for people to log on. In the meantime, let's see if I can show you the hives as they are. So the bees are nicely buzzing away. So you can see, they're all got bees in the entrances coming out. Let's see if I can go slightly closer to the hives. And they're coming in and out. Some are bringing pollen, some are bringing nectar. Others are coming out for the first time from the hive. So they're doing orientation, trying to home into the hives. And they're basically just trying to find, there we go, signal issue. I think this is a better signal place versus going too close. Any questions so far? Show you the hives here on this side. I need to open up that particular entrance slightly so that it has more capacity rather than crowding. The other ones actually are nicely coming in and out. The reason for actually having a small entrance that the bees can protect their colony much better rather than having a more larger force of guards at the entrance when it's a larger entrance. Bigger colonies can maintain that guard, but smaller colonies need a smaller entrance. Right now, because of the sun's out, they are out and about, just getting a lot of pollen. As you can see here on the hives, the color of pollen going in the hive. You got white, orange pollen, a bit of yellow pollen. I've seen a bit red pollen as well going in sometimes, the hives. But today there is orange and a bit of yellowy white color pollen going in the hives. Now if we go to some of the back here, back entrance is mainly for me to actually go through the hives, the harvest of honey from behind here. And I'll show you a bit of honey here which we've collected in this particular colony. This is what the honey in this particular hive looks like, and we harvest from here. So we don't actually disturb the bees when we're actually harvesting the honey, and it is a really nice feeling to actually get the honey out from there. And they do actually fill that back in. So what we do is actually only take the amount of honey that they do have excess. So what they need, they would actually have it in the bottom brood box, and then we leave a bit for them on the top, and they would actually go pollinate other plants when there's more space. And you can hear the bees buzzing away. I haven't got anyone yet logged on, so we have people logged on. Is there anyone there? So this is my backyard. The bees are right at the back here. They do fly over the head, and then when they're hardly in the garden, so I hardly see any most of the bees in the garden. Only during the evening, sometimes, or if I put something out, then they would come and get that. But generally, they don't actually come to the garden. They're foraging for stuff which is away from this garden, so there must be some sort of nectar source away that they do actually go for. Okay, so I've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colonies on this side. I've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4, 5 colonies on the other side. Not all of them are honey producing colonies. Some are just new colonies starting. And I'll show you some of the honey as they bring it in. So these hives are slightly different in terms of other beekeeping hives, and they actually bring the honey in, and you can see the honey coming in, and you harvest the honey without actually taking this box away. And you can actually have a look at the site here of all the bees actually in the hive. And they actually, if you can see slightly here on the right, if they move away, they start when the honey's ready, they cap the honey. That means the honey is actually ready. They've actually evaporated most of the water out of the nectar. And nectar does normally, for it to be honey, it needs to be 20% or less of water content. And that becomes honey, and that will last for a long period of time. You've actually find sometimes in the tombs, you find the honey is still edible even after it's been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. These colonies are pretty docile. I'm able to more or less put my hand there, and there isn't much, because I'm not threatening them. They're not really going to sting me. You might have one or two bees there which are guard bees, and they say, oh, we want to watch out. Now this is a boy bee. Oh, he's just flown away. Here's a boy bee. That's a boy bee. Now they don't have a stinger. So, and the boy bees, the only thing they do in the hive is they eat, get fat, and then when it comes to mating, a few percentage go out mating and never return back, because they actually die on the mating flight. So that's the pure purpose of the boys, is to mate and enjoy their lifestyle like that. But the girls are the hardworking ones in the colony, and a colony like that has about 60,000 bees at its prime. And you actually having 60,000 bees in that, so you can have multiple colonies which have, over here I've got maybe 4 colonies I would say which have the multiple of 60,000 in that. The other ones probably ranging from 30 to 50,000 bees. And hi Versha, thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. You can see your honey's coming up shortly. It's going to be still a while. So the purpose, let me say what the purpose of the colony and how they expand and what happens. So I will sort of turn the camera around and explain slightly better. Okay, so what we have here, this is a nest. The box below is a nest, and the box above is where the honey is stored. And in order for the queen not to go up, we have an excluder which prevents the queen to go and lay in the top box. So that's pure honey. When we harvest it, we're not actually harming any baby bees or any bees when we harvest the honey. The nest consists of one queen and lots of worker bees basically, and a few boys like these ones here. And the boys mainly, they go out and mate during the year. And what happens is, if this gets overcrowded, or when the nest requires more space, the bees they basically they put the queen on a diet, and they slim her. And what they do is, in that meantime, they create other queen cells to replace the queen in the hive. And when those queen cells are ready, they vacate with the existing queen to find a new home, and they would actually go and either go find another place where they can set up their colony. And the current box then has the new queen that will come out and will develop their ovaries and then go out and mate and then come back and start laying. That's the only 2 times when a queen actually goes out and goes out for flight. Is one when she's going for mating, second is when she's going to find a new home with the bees to expand and reproduce. Any questions so far, guys? I'm Michelle Patel. Yeah, it's pretty easy. I think the biggest thing with bees mainly, you need to have a little bit of space, not too much. I've allocated a quite a big chunk of my a small chunk of my garden. So if I'll show you the level of garden that I have and what I've allocated. So that's my garden, and that's what I've allocated to the bees itself. So yeah, you could actually start, but I think when you do start, make sure you get some nice docile colony, because you want to actually have keep good neighbor relationships. And if you get a nice gentle colony like these ones, and I can be in my garden without even being with a bee suit, and I can come up to them without getting stung. That does make a difference, and also makes a difference of your beekeeping experience. How much honey can you get from one tower? So at moment, let's explain these particular hives here. How much honey can I get? So per frame, once it's full up to the end, it's 3 kilograms. So if that's 3 by 6, 18 kilograms basically. Now I could harvest that probably 3 to 4 times, or maybe 2 times a year, in a good strong colony. So you can look at about 36 to probably about 50 kilograms of honey you can get. No worries, Michelle. Now, the white one is a swarm that I caught the other day. So it's just building up. The middle one, which is Ganga. I've named all the colonies, by the way. Apparently, some of them, when I clean out the boxes, that I do actually the tags are on the older boxes, so they're somewhere else in another box, and I will put them back on because I've got different names for different colonies, and I'm actually monitoring their health. So I do keep a record of what their healths are. Sure, Michelle, you're more than welcome to PM me. My son also comes to harvest the honey when I'm harvesting. He's 7 now, but he used to come up to the colonies and harvest when he was 4, 5 years old. And it's a very good experience for kids to get to be with nature, understand the way the bees are. Because one thing that I noticed when I started beekeeping, I was I started more pay attention to what was flowering in the area, the effect between the bees and the environment itself. There's one plant in my garden that never used to expand, and after I had the bees pollinated the plant, and it's now really flourishing. So there is a partnership between bees and plants that they are, and the beekeeper themselves. How do the colonies know which one there are the bees? So, okay, so if you see right now, there is a bit of like a flight going on in front of the hive. Now that flight is like a figure eight. They do like a figure eight. And what happens is that that figure eight is what they do is try to see what's in the environment around that hive. And they can pinpoint that hive 3 miles away, and they can come to the hive wherever they are at 3 miles. So they actually forage for 3 miles, and they can pinpoint each and every hive based on where it is. So they have got a geo navigation system inbuilt in their system, basically. Hi Mala, how you doing? And bees get confused. One of the things that Rian, when you move a box 3 meters or a meter, they get confused and they won't know where the home went away. So if I move that box a meter away, you'll have all the flying bees come here and they say, "Where's my home?" But because I've got a hive next to it, they'll basically, instead of going in, they'll basically try to negotiate with that hive and try to go into that hive and populate that hive because it was there. So they really get confused when you do move their home more than a meter. But there is ways you can move a hive. Yes, I do have many hives. No worries, Neil. Do I sell my honey? My wife sells the honey, and as soon as the honey is harvested, she actually just texts all her friends, and we actually sell all within 2 days. This year, I expanded to 8 colonies. Out of that, only 6 colonies would be honey producing colonies. 2 of the other colonies had issues, so they're going to be probably for next year rather than this year. But Amari, if you want to actually get some honey, you can always contact me. I can see if I can get some to you. Hi Nishit, hope you're well. Mala, you can always pick up a bottle of honey. And I think once the social distance is over, we can actually open the hive with you, and you can actually see the number of bees inside a colony. This is nothing. But when you actually open a hive, you're looking at multiple bees. There are more like 50,000 bees inside the hive itself. The bees foraging is much less. Nishit, I hope you're alright. Keeping safe. Yeah, for sure. When the honey's ready, I can let you know. You can always come and pick it up. Let's come on this side. So I have two sort of gene pool here. I've named all the queens. So here is Subhadra, and Subhadra has Red Queen 2. So Red Queen 2, and she is the mother of most of my other colonies. The first colony on the other side is I got a queen from my friend, and that's doing pretty well. So I'm actually thinking of breeding from that queen and making sure that I have got better genetics for future. So it actually improves the hive. If I show you slightly close up what pollen looks like, and so the stuff on their behind legs, which is a white and orange, that's pollen. And that's what they feed the baby bees and the queen. So that's protein for the bees. They make that into bee bread, and they feed that to the young bees, the larvae, and the queen basically. You can see lots of different color pollen getting in to a hive. Today I can see 3 different colors mainly. A light white, sort of whitish yellow color, orange, and a yellowy orange color pollen which is going in. Some I've seen red color pollen going in, green, purple. So it's multiple different color pollen do get in. I will actually open. Look at this. Where are we? Can we expand? There we go. So the bee's resting over my hand here. She's probably tired from her flight coming with the heavy pollen. And she will basically, once she's got her rest, she'll fly back into her hive. I'll see if I can actually open this particular entrance up slightly. They've glued it up, so I'll have to take some tool to open it up. I'll get that later and open that up later. But that's, you can see the lovely pollen coming in. I don't actually harvest the pollen because it's mainly for the bees themselves. I could harvest the pollen by putting another tray, but then it beats the purpose. I want to actually, then I have to feed the bees some sort of protein in replacement. So I let them actually have that natural pollen to, harvest that. Like that. Yeah, that's better. So they don't really sting. If you're not harming the bees, they're not really going to sting you. They're going to protect their home, which is what they want to do, but they're not going to really sting. And this is what a boy bee looks like. So that's a boy bee. He can't sting. They don't have a stinger. But on the mating, when he's mating a virgin queen, it rips off his back. So he dies on the mating, happy or not. But that's what his pure job is, to pass on those genes to the next generation. And a queen could mate up to multiple colonies, basically. So let's come back in the sun. Enjoy the sun while I'm actually showing you the videos. Let me know if you got any other questions. I can actually show you a picture of the honey jars later on. I can post the honey jars. I think I would have to go inside the house to get it, Mala. So that might be a post for later if that's okay. Because I would have to go away from the bees. See, like most, I noticed that this particular colony doesn't have the orange pollen, so wherever they're sourcing their pollen is not where the other hive is getting its orange pollen from. I've got, if I look at this colony here on the end, there's no orange pollen going in. There's only yellow and the white pollen going in. A bit of orange, but not as much as the one behind. So their source is totally different. I do actually have a YouTube blog. If you want to see more of my inspections of the beehives, it's I think it's called Shah's Beekeeping Blog. So you can actually have a look at that on YouTube. It's not professional. I'm not a professional. I will be improving the videos in the future, but it is just for my own purpose, my own blog. I have friends actually who have do this for a living in terms of beekeeping, but having the amount of colonies that I have, Michelle, you cannot make a living from the number of colonies that I have. It's very, very small scale. I'm only doing for a hobby rather than actually making a living. In terms of a honey, let's assume the maximum each colony would give me about 18 kilograms. I've got 6-7 colonies. I could roughly probably get between 100 to 150 kilograms of honey. That's nothing comparatively if you want to make a living from this. You probably need to start with roughly about, you need to have about between 500 colonies, and that is a full-time work basically, and that's pretty heavy lifting of the boxes, because when a box is full of honey, it is solid weight to it. Now you could probably make about, depending on your pricing that you do on your honey and the forage of the honey quality itself. My wife sells the jars at 10 pounds. So in a colony I can harvest about between 60 to 72 jars of honey. So you're looking at 720 pounds there per colony. But not always you have a colony that is giving you enough honey. There might be issues in the year. You might have to sort out those issues with the colony. You might feed, some years you have to feed the bees because there's not enough nectar, or something happened, it rained too much, or it was too sunny, or the weather wasn't right when for them to go and forage the honey. So it does have a big play. You have to have got big scale to really make a living out of this. Do you need a lot of wildflowers to attract bees? Yes. I mean, in your garden, if you're just planting for bees itself rather than any other thing. So I'll show you around what I've got flower-wise. I've got a few of these flowers here growing. They do attract bees, but right now you can see none of them have any of the bees in them. They do actually attract few of the solitary bees. So I have these coming out. These will flower shortly. So mainly, if you can grow trees, I've got lavender here which is flowering, but no bees on them as well. So my bees are not foraging my garden at all. I can see here there's lots of flowers here, wildflowers. No bees on them as well. That's purely because what bees do is they go for sources of high nectar, high sugar level, is what they're actually going for, and that's what they're foraging. But wildflowers, what it does is it does actually save the solitary bee species, which is which is getting extinct. And that's what we want to actually work on, is the solitary bees rather than the honeybees. The honeybees, you got the beekeepers looking after them, but you haven't got the solitary bees. So what you could do is probably have some logs under the tree like that, allow for the solitary bee to home in and nest in there. So it's a natural environment for them to nest, rather than just clearing your garden and just making it look pretty. But if you make it look pretty and flowery, with some wild flowers on the side, that gives the solitary bees bit of forage for them, and because solitary bees don't travel as far as the honeybees. They need wildflowers connection between gardens to travel, and that's how the solitary bees actually work. Hi Amit, how you doing? Hope you're all well. Hope the little one's well as well. But one thing I can say, as a hobby, you actually enjoy the fresh honey that comes out from these colonies. The taste, it far beats what the supermarket commercial honey is. And if you can support your local beekeeper, that is much better, because they are actually having bees in the environment that actually are pollinating the trees, the flowers in your garden, rather than you buying flowers every year. If you've got bees coming to pollinate your flowers, you will have your flowers growing healthy, much better. Your tomatoes need pollinating. Your strawberries. I've got strawberries that I've planted in pots that will need pollinating, and the bees will probably go and pollinate the flowers to get better strawberries. So 30% of what we eat are pollinated by the honeybees. So you can imagine that's a very high consumption, because of the way food is grown commercially. It's not viable for the solitary bees to pollinate the food that we eat. We need those honeybees to pollinate. And right now, I think beekeepers are doing a very good job in terms of taking their hives to farms and getting them pollinated, or even having hives in the area helps the farms as well. You're welcome, Michelle. Any more questions, guys? See, now the crowd has gone down now in the entrances of the hives. Not as much as what we started earlier, because all the house bees which came out to orientate have now gone back inside to rest for the day, and then tomorrow they'll come again out, orientate again, and then eventually, once they're ready, they'll start leaving the hive for longer distances, and that's what they'll do. So at the moment, you just see the figure 8 at the moment in front of the hive, and that's what they're doing. So, I mean, I'm not by professional a farmer, so my profession is accounting, and this is just a hobby that I do, and I've started enjoying this particular hobby. There's not much to it. I think only during the beekeeping season you need to actually just maintain, inspect the hives. Once they're okay, you know, everything's there to just give you a bit of honey when they're flourishing. If there's any other questions, I shall answer them. Otherwise, I shall say goodbye for today. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for watching. Hope this inspires you to do something with your gardens, or take up the hobby if it's something that interests you. But do support if you do buy honey, do support your local beekeepers, because that's where you are actually making a difference in your environment. And also try to make areas for wildflowers in your gardens, allowing the solitary bees to forage and move around those wildflowers, and create homes for them in your gardens as well. Solitary bees don't really harm, or not they won't really sting you as per se. You leave them alone, leave the home alone, they're pretty okay to have. I mean, I've got multiple solitary flying bees in my garden, the bumblebee, so they are, it's a good thing to have multiple sort of bees in our environment. Okay, bye guys.